I am your podcast host. And I love to interview change agents and trailblazers that dare to dream, that dare to disrupt, innovate, transform themselves or the systems that they work for. So I'm excited today to introduce you to Michelle Greene Rhodes. And Michelle is an executive coach, 10-time author, registered nurse, and health media pioneer. She founded The Color of Wellness magazine and continues to serve as editor in chief. The Color of Wellness has expanded to include multimedia on its Health Equity Podcast Network and YouTube channel dedicated to leaders in health equity. Michelle also leads the Color of Wellness Institute, whose mission is to increase culturally competent care across the globe through Train the Trainers of physicians who help develop the art of compassion, culture, and communication. The Digital Media Academy longs to share the secret of leveraging digital media in healthcare and frequently hosts trainings that help health professionals establish Black owned media channels. Her training includes Well Coaches, Florida A&M University, and University of Central Florida. And Michelle is a patient stories contributor for GoodRx.com. And 28 years of managed care experience by combining her love for writing, artificial intelligence, and technology with her lived experiences inside of managed care nursing. The Color of Wellness was born. Welcome and enjoy the show. Greetings, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am extremely excited and honored today to have Miss Michelle here in the house. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Coach Charlene.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you here. I can't wait to totally hear about what you do because I had an opportunity to look at your website and it was like, wow, you're doing some amazing work. So can you just tell us who you are first? Tell us little bit about who you are.
That's a good place to start, right? Well, again, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle, the owner and founder of the Color Wellness Media. So, registered nurse by trade, 28 years. I don't
Wow.
even sound right coming out. um, and my background was managed care, so that was my specialty, still my love. So whenever I do get connected to nursing, the profession, I'm around that. And having that experience really is what made this pivot, made Color Wellness happen. Because prior to the pandemic, I was coaching nurses and healthcare professionals on how to start businesses and how to leverage a brand because they liked my brand, they still do, but it was all about me, and I felt led, spiritually led, during the height of the pandemic, where I felt God was saying, "It's not about you. You are promoting yourself. This is about the community. Don't you see?" And so we started looking at statistics, numbers, all of us who were shaken by what was going on, and that's how we were born. So I took that love for writing because I was already writing, and combined it with that experience from managed care, what I knew, what I'd seen, experienced. So I knew firsthand what the inequities were. Um, and now I brought it into a media format. And so I started saying, how can we bring this health education to the people in a bigger, faster, quicker way? We've done it one by one for years, right? We were doing it
Yeah.
anyway. But now, how can we make something special out of it? So we are the go-to to find information for. So that's what we do.
Wow, that's wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. It's interesting because several people, of course, in 2020 for the murder of George Floyd, in addition to the other unfortunate deaths that we had, that was like my moment as well. I've been in the healthcare industry nursing since 1993, so over 32 years of nursing. And when 2020 hit, and normally I don't watch TV, and I just happened to see it, and I was so thrown back, taken back, exhausted, tired, pissed off, all of that. And I took it to prayer because I happened to be on vacation at the time. I was a nurse leader on perinatal services. And so I took that to prayer. And I remember being so heavy and just disgusted with the whole
Mhm.
thing, that it was too heavy for me to carry. So in prayer, I heard God say, "What you do in this moment will dictate your future and guide your destiny," or somewhere, something like that. And I was like, hmm. So that made me move from anger and frustration to
Mm.
action and impact. And that's where I found my voice. And then I began to start sharing my stories of all of the different things that I've experienced throughout my journey. And so I just believe that there's moments that are present that we are called into to disrupt, to change, to transform ourselves, to
Yes.
disrupt the system, whatever it is. There's some moments that are so special, and that happened to be that moment for me. I was chosen for that moment to begin to
Mm.
start sharing my story after over 20 years of being in the industry and really being silent, and I felt like I had no voice. And so that's why the podcast was birthed. So I would love for you to share, Michelle, some moments in your life that you had to respond to in the way that you have. Because I love the color of wellness. Like just the title by itself makes me want to know more about what that is. So please, I'm going to give you the floor and just inspire us.
Oh wow. Yeah, it has been a journey. And like you always hear, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And I feel like I finally have embraced that saying. You know, you hear it, but when you live it and have to experience that, it's totally different, right? It just becomes like really real. So I mean, in addition to the one moment that I just spoke of, where you know it's not about you, that was an humbling voice. So when you, I think, finally find your purpose to say, hey, what am I really here for? Am I supposed to be promoting myself every day, all day? No, it's not. It's much bigger than that. I think that's a big message for any of us to hear. So I prayerfully, pray that who's listening has found their purpose, because I think that's where that energy comes from, and that's when you really shine. Like you found that strength,
Yeah,
like you mentioned, to turn it into the triumph into something just tremendous. So I would say that I think for anyone who's in the struggle and not feeling fulfilled, wondering is this all there is? Am I supposed to be helping in some bigger way? To take some time, get quiet, seek the Lord while He can be found, and find out really what the voice is saying. And then I question myself so much because I hate to say it, we struggle sometimes with faith, I think. So I would love to talk about that as well, because I was like, okay, Lord, how do I do this? This is really a pioneering effort. I got some help, just like with media and podcasting, but specifically for what we're doing for nurses and behind a media brand, that was truly pioneering. So I think, your faith walk is bound to increase if you do listen and move. And so I asked myself, you asked God, how do I do it? He was like, use what you have. I had to interpret that. What does that mean? For me, it was the writing, because I've written all these books. You can go to Google and put my full name in. You'll see, I mean, Amazon, you'll see all the books I've written over the years. But it was just writing. It was vain, right? So I said, let me just pivot my love for writing into a magazine. So that's how a magazine came into the view. So I do think the second lesson is, use what you have. What is it that
yeah,
you're great at? What is it that people compliment you on? That you could do while you sleep. You hear all these things that you would do for free if you could. You know, that eventually turns into money. If you do it with the right heart. So I do encourage just that inner introspection and really looking at what is that you're great at. That's your God given gift, and probably waiting to be untapped in some much bigger way.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah. And then lastly, I'll say doubt and fear, because the third part of that conversation with God was why me? And you know, I had personal concerns as part of my weight journey. I have battled with obesity since a child, and looking at my family, like, oh my goodness, it's just everyone's struggling with this, but we didn't come up with the best habits and the best food and opportunities to get fresh, healthy foods, let alone exercise. It just wasn't a part of my upbringing. So it wasn't
Yeah.
until later that I learned much more about it and started to implement some healthier habits. So I was really doubtful about that. Like, nobody's going to listen to me. I'm struggling myself. But again, I felt God say, like, why not you? You're the perfect person to talk about these struggles. This put the spotlight on health inequity, which probably was a piece of this, in addition to bad habits. But there were some health inequities there. So I think sometimes you can not move forward, sometimes because of doubt and fear. And so knowing that you have got this, you have empowered, it's already in you. But it took me a long time, and I sometimes still struggle with it, to know that I am the one, I am enough, and I definitely can help because I've been there, I've lived it. So I would say that those are the three things that shaped this journey.
Yeah, that's pretty significant, honestly, because I just think about my journey. I mean, I am not the person I was 20 years ago when I first started out. And so this journey has been very challenging, but beautiful at the same time. And so I love how you said that because when I even started this podcast, I remember the dream dropped into my spirit in 2020 when all of that was going on, but I didn't really manifest it until 2022 in July. And so I was on a event that I had co-hosted at my job at the time, and then Shola Richards happened to be our speaker, and so I had an opportunity to speak to him offline, and he was like, "What are you waiting for? You got everything that you need." I mean, he started spanking me like right there. He didn't even know me. And it was like so much what I needed because I was all in my head saying that I'm not enough, that nobody's going to listen to, nobody's going to get on your show. You're a nobody. All of the inner critic was talking very loudly. And so I had to like totally have my inner coach begin to start speaking that I can do all things, that I am worthy and I do have something to contribute, that the gift in me needs to be shared. So it's this whole journey like with yourself, and I love how you talked about that. This is not about you, it's about those that are connected to you, those
Mhm.
lives that are connected to you so that you can impact. So man, that is so beautiful, Michelle. So let me help me understand how the media piece connects in. I'm still trying to like figure that part out. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it definitely is a different vantage point what we're used to in nursing. But again, for me, I just took the foundation of it was patient education. So I'm thinking about, every time we have to send someone home or every time we want to talk about something new. But all these little talking points to me added up into, what, this could be, a story. It could be an article. It could be a podcast topic. Just because we're doing it again one at a time. So this way, when we talk about it or educate, there are lots of people all over the world listening now. Either through our podcast or looking at our magazine. It's a different target market for each one. But the goal is to send it out, is I want to say in mass, but we're not quite there yet because we're not mass media, we're digital media. And there's a
Okay.
difference. Mass media is on TV and radio, but with us being digital, that means we're online. We do have an opportunity to reach a special niche audience. So now we're at, across all platforms, 30,000 Black professional healthcare women or just women in general who are usually about 30, our demographic is 35 to 55. So I say that to say digital meaning online. And so it's the online amount of people because that's where people are getting their information. We saw that during the pandemic,
Yeah.
misinformation, disinformation. And as I started to research, like 70% of people get health information online. They don't know if it's good or bad. They just want to find Dr. Google and get
Yes.
something that they can agree with. That's it,
Right.
and then they diagnose. We've seen it, right? So I
Yep.
wanted a good, trusted, so trust is a big thing, of course, in our community. So I wanted a place that we can increase trust. Okay, nursing, most trust trust your profession. So all of that plays into our culture. Like there is a trust issue, a trust pillar, I should say, not trust issue, but we're attacking trust issues, a trust pillar as a part of our values. Uh, the volume amount of people, how can we reach more people quicker, better, faster? So that's the media piece. And then I believe our relatability is the third. The fact that we are nurses, we get that a lot. Like, okay, if you talk to me like my mom or my sister, or an aunt told me this, or just all those things that come into the community, the cultural piece, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
All of that. So there's really those three big pieces that come together to make a bigger impact as opposed to just educating patients one on one or in a workshop. So that's where our impact lies.
Well, that's amazing. I absolutely love it. So, you said so your magazine goes out to over 20,000 nurses?
It is right now housed on our site. So it can be exposed up to 30. So we have different
Okay.
platforms. So about 10 on each platform. We're like almost at 10,000 on LinkedIn, 10,000,
Wow.
13,000 on Instagram, and now like 10,000 on Facebook. So when we do share, we are exposing up to, that amount. They don't
Wow.
all see it, but yeah, that's where our visibility reach is. Um, and that's, like I said, women, and most of them are of color, ages 35 to 55. So they're not all nurses, but they are women, the majority of them.
Wow. Wow, that's so inspiring. I'm wondering, Michelle, can you share with us any moments that you had that was um, somewhat disappointing? Like, because I really want to unpack some barriers, facing when it's time for you, when you want to start a business, when you want to start a podcast, when you want to shift from a different, perhaps the bedside to something else. Like, can you share a story and then provide us with a few barriers that you faced in your journey?
Great question. So many. Let me
Yes.
find one. Yeah, so many. And I think that comes with this pioneering effort. So sometimes I have had to slow down and question and look and make sure and double check and look at data and numbers. So I think that's probably where I'm going to go with this story, where you just don't know. And it's like, do I have the opportunity to switch our business model? We were approached more so like a pharmaceutical type effort, more so oncology space. Could we, do certain things for this particular campaign? So I think that when had that opportunity, it made me stop and think because it was kind of happening so fast, bombarded with lots of offers. But that particular offer just made me stop and think, is this still in line with what you started out to do? Because we're really on the prevention, we're all about prevention, preventative side, where this was, you know,
Yeah.
diagnosed, you
Right.
know, and so medication, I'll just say that. My point was that although there's a good piece, the good side to our story, there's also times when you have to double check, your stance, who you want to partner with, and even if money's on the table, are you still going to go down the disease path? When you said you were about wellness and prevention,
Yeah.
are you going to do this? And so some people would call me crazy, but I had to say no because it just did not align. It just didn't feel good. So I would probably, just say through that particular incident, when you're starting a business, know what the mission is about, believe it, be it, and as you hear all the time, authentically be that, and that'll help you make those decisions because you might be faced with all sorts of opportunities or financial gain in some sort of way. And if you're not rooted and grounded in who you are, it can be really tough to stay on that path, and then you end up going down someone else's path.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's good. That part
I
right
think you
there.
felt me on that one.
I felt you on that one because so many people do it. Like, so many people do it. I mean, to be honest, I did it for a long time. I recognized, so after 2020, we recognized that our healthcare workers were just in a mess. I mean, they were depressed. They were showing up, but they weren't themselves. The compassion was gone. All of that was going down. And I recognized, so as a nurse leader, because I tried to stay one up on everything, because I do the personal work outside of work. And so I was cruising, doing pretty good, staying positive, optimistic, and all of that. But I noticed that people would come in my office and they would be, I mean, just extremely depressed and sad and, all of that. And so taking all of that in, because on the outside, I'm a minister. And so I have the spirit of counsel on me. So I'm okay with sitting and listening to another person's story. I absolutely love doing that and just being there with someone so they can feel seen and they can feel heard. But after like 2021, I got into a little moment again. It felt like a burnout moment. I can't really label it burnout, but it probably was. But frustration, irritation, underlying lack of fulfillment, all of that was there. And I was sitting on this healing circle. One of my instructors did, and it was on self compassion. And oh my God, I turned my camera off because I was bawling like a baby. Because guess what? I was not showing my self compassion. I was showing compassion to everybody else
Mhm.
except for myself.
And
And
we're good at that.
I was not being true to myself at all. And I was like, oh my God, I have got to get this right. And that's why I always use that quote on my website and everywhere else. I found in the midst of that crisis, you don't die when your heart stops beating, you die when your heartbeats have no meaning. And so
Wow.
I knew that I had lost meaning. I
Mhm.
knew that I was going through the motions. Yeah, I was smiling. Yeah, I'm strong. I'm getting things done. But inside, I'm slowly dying. And I'm slowly unfulfilled and just trying to figure out, okay, Charlotte, how do you get out of this? And so I am so thankful for my journey because I had to go there so that I can know how to help other people come out of that space. And so I would love for you, Michelle. There probably is some nurses or physicians or uh, whoever's listening, and they're kind of stuck still, and it's 2024, and they don't even know which way to turn. So I'd love to ask my guest, what would you tell someone that was feeling like they were stuck? They're coming to work, they're going home, but they're inside, they don't feel fulfilled whatsoever. Can you give them some advice?
Ooh, my. Well, I do think it stems from what you mentioned happened to you. And again, I've learned this the hard way. I've struggled with burnout at one particular time, more so on the like my third or fourth year into the pre-pandemic business, where I was coaching women, big cohorts, not realizing I was continually pouring, and not prioritizing myself. So I wasn't a priority. So it's just a continual pour until I reached burnout and I had to stop the cohort. So I was like, can't, I just can't. I told my team we cannot. It took me 18 months to recover. And this was in
Wow.
retrospect. I mean, going through it, didn't know, but I just knew every day I woke up, I just like, I can't woke up. And so this was continuous. Yeah, I had to take a really
18
long
months.
break. Yeah, I had no idea. And then again, that was retrospect because inside of it, I just felt like I was getting up trying, but feeling, just let down. And one day, after 18, yeah, it took a lot because I was trying to work out, trying to read books, but it just wasn't, whatever I was doing was still not getting deep enough.
Yeah.
Um, so we do have to take some time for self compassion to see what is deep enough. What is deep enough for you? Because for me,
Yes.
it was my spirit. So I'm glad you mentioned counseling. It was my spiritual wellness. I had really disconnected, and I grew up in the church, and got married, and here I am, my second marriage, starting my business, but still not really connected spiritually where I needed to be. I still felt a little lost and disconnected. I remember even telling my pastor that. So, but I thought entrepreneurship would help me, but it was worse. I say all that to say it wasn't until when we had some time off during the pandemic and I'm doing all this, feeling re-inspired, um, that with that inspiration, I began to really go deeper with Christ because I was like, I got to go deeper because this is what I'm doing. It's not working. So I really pressed in with prayer, really pressed in with fasting, just eating fruits and veggies, just talking to my pastor more, reading as much as I could. I really carve out time every day for prayer and meditation. So I was just much more intentional about it, whereas I was just before was kind
Yeah.
of just doing what I had to do and stick it in there, like it's really what you have to be intentional. So what is that's missing for you all? And then being intentional to solve it. Cause I was like on a mission, like I have got to. So now that I'm in that place, it's so much different. Like you mentioned, it doesn't look like what you look like before. I look now, I'm like, wow, I was a different person 4 years ago because
Yeah.
inside I am fulfilled and I have found reconnected to my first love and found that that's what sustains me. That was what was missing all along. So it took me 18 months to find that out, and I thank God for that grace because I could, but I'm here. And so I would just say to whomever's struggling with that, like dig deeper, find out what is it that truly your heart is missing. Because sometimes there's we think it's something, but until you really get serious about it, intentional, you still are overlooking it. And then put it first. Put it
Yeah.
first, not
Yeah,
last.
that's beautiful. Yeah. And you know what? It's very interesting because when you're in the grind, you don't know how you're being impacted. Like I'm a very positive person and I'm intentional about the things that I do. Like every morning that I get up, I declare that I walk in undisturbed composure because I know that disturbances are going to come. And so I have this shield on. And so even with me having my shield on and things like that, I didn't recognize even recent, like I've had so many aha moments
Mhm.
since I have retired. I retired July 5th and I was frozen that whole month of July. The
See?
whole month of July. Probably the first 2 weeks, I was like, okay, you could just be a slug, just do nothing and just do whatever. But then I started noticing because before I retired, I was like, okay, I can't wait. I'm going to be working on my books. I'm going to be doing this, that, and the other. And then I almost felt like I had a rope around my waist being pulled back.
Wow.
And I was like, what is this? And so I started just walking outside because nature tends to, prayer and walking, it tends to kind of open up and let me see. And I'm telling you, I just love our God because he showed me that I was, I have to peel away those layers of trauma and
Yeah.
moral injury that I developed that I squashed deep. I mean, so deep down that I
Yeah.
didn't even know that they were there until I got quiet enough to let them rise to the top. And so
Same.
they rose to the top, and every one of them, I dealt with each one of them so that I can get fully healed and whole. And I'm telling you, within like, I mean, I went home after that one self session just walking and I wrote probably about 50 pages because it was just like oozing out of me what I needed to say and what the revelation of what God was showing me at that time. And then immediately after I finished my last word on that paper, I had a nurse call me from Modesto and she said, Charlene, I saw your post that you retired. And she said, but my life is a nightmare. And she said, I hate going to work and I'm so depressed. I mean, she just was all the way in there. And then it just really, I recognized that, oh my God, so many of our nurses are wounded, our physicians are wounded, and they're suffering in silence all by themselves because nobody's talking about it. And so that's powerful what you just talked about, that 18 months. And I'm so glad you actually took the 18 months because you know what? It's almost like you're groomed to keep grinding, keep pressing it down,
Yeah.
keep doing it. And you have lost yourself in the midst
Yes.
of it. You don't
Ab-
even know who you are anymore. And
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's something that, and what I heard when you were talking similarly on our journeys, that a lot of the time is work induced. Now we have to work, to live, and even mine was business, but it was still work. Um, for me, it feels like, I don't know how to better word this. Basically, your creativity can be stifled if you don't keep that line to who I am open. But it seems like
Yes.
once we kind of got into our creativity, then you're free to flow and be yourself. But if you're just put in a box and say do this all day, you never really tap into your true creativity, your true essence that really helps you, keep the awareness up as to who you are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's so good because it's true because once I received the fullness of the healing that I was really I let myself sit in it on purpose because I wanted to experience it at all. I mean, experience all of it. And then August hit, and then it was like I was a different person. I was like, okay, I got it back, and actually with a little bit of extra because now the sensitivity to ultimately this was the bottom line. When you are misaligned with your purpose, when you are in a place and you know you're not supposed to be there, and you know God is telling you and telling you and telling you, and because you want to stay comfortable, you don't
Whew.
move, then you're going to experience this heart. This was the picture that I had, a heart that has a little hole at the bottom with blood leaking out. You're losing momentum, you're losing um, some of your soul even in it.
Uh,
So you have got to start paying attention. So I encourage anybody to pay attention to that discomfort, to pay attention to the sadness, to the misalignment, because we know it's just the challenge of doing something about it. So thank you for that. That was so deep, Michelle, what you just shared, and I hope everybody is listening that needs to hear that. So okay, Michelle, tell me a little bit.
Yeah,
I
like
know, anything else on that?
how do we come out of that depth, right?
I know, because we went all the way in there.
All the way in. So like my coach would say, hey, you got to bring them up.
Yeah, Britt, come on back.
So let me just wrap that up by saying, um,
Yes, please.
super quick. Yeah, because I was thinking about, that's what we do as speakers. You have that real relatability because of your story, but also on the other side of that is victory. So
Yes.
just to know that if you are in the midst, if you are in the messy middle, from which whereas I was with my business growing too quickly, um, just know that there is victory on the other side. That's where your power is. And I think once you get there, you look back, like you mentioned, and you say, wow, I didn't realize I was there. I didn't realize that this was in me. And you're really reborn because you come out with a whole new outlook on life. Your worldview is much different, much more
Yeah.
powerful. So I encourage anyone to go through it. Yes, it will be dark. Yes, it will be tough. I've done it a couple of times, but I also feel empowered. Like nothing can stop me. God is on my side. I am
Yes.
victorious, and yeah, there's nothing but wonderful things ahead for me now.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful wrap up because literally even in those moments I declare that I'm the light in institutional darkness. So even though I went through and had to go through those different phases, the light shined in darkness. And so, what I'm saying is that we have such an amazing, incredible potential that God has put on the inside of each of us. And it's waiting. It's waiting for you. You can go through the valley, but He's waiting for you right there. He's right there with you in the valley and
Absolutely.
ready to take you back up to the top where you deserve to be. So,
Uh,
wow,
that's
you are a serious change agent. I love it. So let me ask you a question. This is just off. It just like dropped in. What do you see for the future of nursing in particular?
I love that question. You know why? Because I haven't done the research, so I want to call myself an innovator, but until I get this through the right processes, it's gonna happen. But if I can't call myself that, I always call myself a futurist because I do like to see what's ahead, what's different, what's outside of the box for nursing and healthcare. So thank you for pulling that out of me.
Yeah.
I think that's an untapped space in just my heart that I need to dig into. But we're in a different world now, as we know. Like things are much different. We can sense it and feel it. So I do believe things are getting ready to change for the better. But it's going to be much different. It won't be the world that we know it. AI, as you can tell, is taking over almost every industry, and only those who are prepared to work with it will survive. I don't think you can get around it. And I try to tell my children this; they don't want to hear it, but I'm like, it's here. So the future is now, and we need to get trained. So I would encourage everyone to get some sort of AI training, learn how to work with it, and up your skill set because yes, it will make you more valuable in the future as well. But you won't be left behind because it's nothing is going to be the same.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. And then, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Ooh,
I want people to be able to get in touch with you if they want to use your services,
yeah, I would
just to
love.
amplify the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you. And I'll try. I just took a deep breath because I have to slowly peel off my layers and like, okay, I don't need to do all of that. So I really I have slowed down on the training piece. So there's a training piece where we do training with nurses and other healthcare professionals to teach them digital media. Um, so as I get trained in AI, I'll be adding that to our coursework next year. So I want to be that go-to where you all think, "Well, I need some training. I need to know, how to use media." Then I want them to think of me. So yeah, medianurses.com is where you can find us. And outside of that training, then there is our annual breakfast in Tampa, Florida. So we're getting prepared. Actually, just yesterday we announced it on social media. So this will be our second annual healthcare recognition breakfast. And so it's just a place and a space which I didn't see, healthcare, but specifically healthcare professionals of color can come and be recognized. So it's a recognition event, but it's also a social wellness event. So we want to have fun. It's holiday themed. Like we're always working. We talked about burnout and stress today. Like we of all the vocations need a place to have some fun. So that's what it's all about as well. We want to make it fun, just a place to let your hair down, meet and greet and network, and then we're going to be recognized as some wonderful leaders in our field as well. So stay tuned. We'll be posting more information and love to see you there.
That sounds amazing. So, before you leave, I always ask my guests for three wisdom gems. And so, I would love for you to just inspire us. Give us three wisdom gems. I know you started out with like dropping three of them already.
I was going to say, yeah.
So, we're going to get three more of them from you.
Ooh, Lordy, Lordy, help me. Three more. Ooh, no, but I never want to miss a moment to inspire someone, because had it not been for people inspiring me, I would not be here today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start there. Number one is with nursing, we're charged to be a mentor. We're charged to give back to our profession. We're charged to be there for the coming forth workforce. So I want to challenge, especially nurses. Are you doing that? I fell in love with mentoring back in 2009. I was working at the VA at the time, and my boss saw something special in me and said, we have a certified mentor program. So I went through the program and was accepted and became a certified mentor. So I helped lots of nurses get there. Really, really was about completing their RN program. Um, so that's where my journey started. But after that, I just saw a love for mentoring spring up in me, which made me a better coach. And then the rest is history. So
Yes.
the first thing I would say is, who are you mentoring? Um, that's just a part of, a servant leader's job. I think number two, on the other side of that, because we talked about getting our own cups filled, who's mentoring me, who am I being inspired by, who am I connected with, who's at my table, and just re-examining who that might be, who's influencing the voices, in your ear. Because sometimes we can be following voices because they're familiar, they're trusted, but is it
Yes.
really moving you to your next level? Is it truly making you move? So, yeah, I think that's so important because if we had,
Yeah.
like I said, hadn't been for mentors that I hired, I wouldn't be here. So I thank God for them because they truly have changed my life.
That's awesome.
And number three, I'm just gonna say this is a reiteration to what I've mentioned earlier, just because it's so important to me. Is to stay connected to your spirit, and especially in the times that we're in. I think this is why I'm saying this as well, because it's just pressed upon my heart too. I'm very tapped in right now, and I'm not going nowhere. So it's our job to also
Yes.
encourage people in the Lord. But get strapped up, get ready, put on your full armor. You're going to need it in the upcoming days and times that we are seeing and living in. So don't dare walk through life without spiritual protection. I heard you mention your bubble. Like that's what it's all about. How are you commanding your mornings? How are you staying protected? Because it's there. You just have to walk in that authority. So I pray that those who are listening can rise up in their spirit and just feel stronger in that way.
That's wonderful. Well, it has been such an honor to have you here on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to engaging a little bit more with you now that I know more about you. Is there a way that people can get in touch with you if they want to connect with you or with one of the services that you mentioned?
Sure, sure. So the easiest way is to head over to medianurses.com. Now, I will say the way my settings are on my website, you do have to put www in front of it until we get that fixed. Or an email, hello, and it's my full name. So it's hello at Michelle Greene with an E, Rhodes.com. So that website, MichelleGreeneRhodes.com, actually is my portfolio. So if you really want to know more about me, the work that I've done, the media coverage, that's all there. That's just about who I am as a person.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And then you have tons of books, you said, in Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, just type in my full name, Michelle Greene Rhodes, and you'll see them. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything new and wonderful coming up for you?
Just the breakfast right now. I'm so locked in because I want it to be a success. So keep us in prayer. And
Okay.
again, I'll be in Tampa December 21st of this year. And we're excited to, recognize some of the health leaders here in Tampa Bay and maybe beyond. And we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, we want to just be that place where nurses come to and feel like they're seen and heard. I heard you mention that earlier too, because
Yeah.
that's really to me at the bottom of what we all do. This is about taking those nurses with us who want to be seen and heard and having them
Yes.
open their creativity box. What we already
Yes.
talked about. That's where your freedom is.
I want to thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of When the Moment Chooses You. I'm your host, Coach Charlene, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Each journey we've shared today is a reminder that when the moment chooses you, the possibilities are endless.